Oh, Sonic. What a franchise you have been. Well, in case you couldn't tell by the channel as a whole, I love Sonic the Hedgehog. A lot, actually. I played all of the most popular Sonic games out there that I can find, at least. I have touched some mediocre to bad Sonic games for once in a while, but I can look past a lot of those Sonic games and see the franchise as a as a masterpiece of gaming in general. However, what people consider talking about is multiple playable characters that used to be in the Sonic game. That used to be in some of the older Sonic games, and some not so old Sonic games. People love Sonic Adventure 1. People love Sonic Adventure 2, and I'm one of those people without a doubt. Sure, there are slightly better there's slightly better Sonic games out there, but I could still say that these Sonic games are some of the best in the entire series. Even if they're far from perfect. What a lot of people are missing right now, including myself, is multiple playable characters. Sonic 06 is bad. Let's be real. The game is the farthest from perfect. It left a serious impact of the series as a whole, whether it being from the story or the horrible gameplay. I personally don't find it as terrible as a lot of people make it out to be, but I could still see a lot of the major flaws in this game. And because of Sonic 06 being so bad, and a lot of people lost all faith in Sonic. I personally don't think the game is that bad to lose all of humanity when it comes to Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, let's be real. People. I think it's safe to say that there's still technically worser Sonic games out there. Yes, Sonic 06 may be one of the worst objectively, but at the same time, there are some things in the game that everybody is willing to admit, whether it being slight guilty pleasures when it comes to Sonic stages, or being the amazing music. Because of Sonic 06 having one of the worst reviews of all of gaming, we lost multiple playable characters. It's kind of sad, honestly. I mean, we did get Sonic Unleashed, which did feature some multiple gameplay styles, but even that game didn't leave that good of an impression at the community. Well, at launch. A lot of people now love Sonic Unleashed, but back then, a lot of people found this game mediocre or just downright bad. Speaking me personally, I can see why a lot of people didn't really like this game at launch, but when Sonic Unleashed gets good, it gets really good. And the only thing that people started to replay in Sonic Unleashed was the daytime stages. Sega realized that. And because of them realizing that, we got Sonic Colors, which admittedly is still one of the better Sonic games out there. Or seriously, the game is really awesome. But one thing that a lot of people notice is that the game doesn't really have multiple playable characters. Sure, it has certain gimmicks when it comes to Wisps. And to be frank, they are better handled than the Werehog stages. But besides that, it was just Sonic. Sega realized that a lot of people didn't like multiple playable characters anymore. Well, that's what they thought. Believe it or not, But a lot of people didn't really mind the multiple playable characters. They just didn't like how they were handled. They Sega kind of overthought of it, overthinked it. Don't get me wrong, Sonic Colors is still a fantastic Sonic game, but it's still a fantastic Sonic game, but it still doesn't offer as much variety as I'd like. Still far from bad. And I still had an amazing time with it. Despite not being on the regular Wii version. Because of Sonic Colors, it was just purely basing on Sonic's gameplay alone and no one else's gameplay. When Sega realized that they could make an entire Sonic game based on Sonic's gameplay, and with most of the levels in the game being fantastic, they were hyped for more. And believe it or not, they did get more with Sonic Generations. It did have Classic Sonic, which is technically a different character, but it's still a technically different character, but it's still really, really fun. And it still had the same objective as regular Sonic, and it brought back some good memories of the good old days. Even if the Classic Sonic and Sonic Generations wasn't nearly as good as the Classic Sonic and the actual Classic Sonic games. Sonic Generations, because of its amazing response and to two beautiful gameplay styles that were well made, people will consider this to be one of, if not the best 3D Sonic game ever made. And you know what? I agree with that. A lot, actually. I still hold very much respect for Unleashed, Colors, and the Adventure games, but if I was saying that those games are better than Sonic Generations, in my personal opinion, then I'd be lying to you. And I'm not trying to be a liar here. A big fat liar, pants on fire. God damn it, that's so bad. Anyways, I wanted to go and talk in this video on how I would personally think how multiple playable characters would work. We did get Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces on 2017. Sonic Mania was praised to high heavens and considered by people, especially by myself, to be the best Sonic game ever. But Sonic Forces, games like that got the shots really hard. Extremely hard. And a lot of people wanted stuff from the old games back. And then this caused to certain people like myself getting tired of the Sonic community and saying that the Sonic community can't make up its damn mind. And I don't blame them for wanting the old-styled Sonic games back, but they shouldn't have rejected everything that was given to them before. Yes, it is technically opinions at the end of the day, but still, they could have been easily more... They could have been easy on the other games and just let them slide, but no, they didn't. They decided to dwell on Sonic 06 and Sonic Forces longer and longer than needed to. Seriously, people. Well, Sonic 06 and Sonic Forces, as bad as the games are, they really need to stop being hated on. I already have made a review on Sonic Forces, and if you already saw my opinion, then you know that I do not like this game and consider it a bad Sonic game. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing my personal opinions on how to make multiple playable characters work in Sonic the Hedgehog again. And yes, I am aware that Matt has no cuts. Matt has no cuts. It's already made this video, and I will give him credit for that. but something came into my mind. A slightly different idea, if you will. Well, so in this video, I'm going to be sharing out my ideas. And you can share your own ideas in the comment section below. Oh, it would be really cool, and I really appreciate that. Now, there are two different type of styled Sonic games. Well, there's a different type of. So there's two, let's just say, versions of Sonic games. The Genesis is classic Sonic games, and then we have the adventure games. What? Okay, I should be more specific. It's not just the adventure games. We have 2D Sonic games, which are most knownly the classics, although there are occasional ones like Sonic Advanced and Sonic Rush, all other good stuff. Then we have the 3D Sonic games that was introduced by, for mainline series anyway, with Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, which are still, up to this day, considered one of, if not the best Sonic games ever made. Personally, I think there are slightly better games, but I still love the Adventure series. Seriously, I really do. I really do. Now each Sonic game tries to use different type of styles in terms of formulas. That's all introduced by one previous formula. Such as the boost games, having the same boosting mechanic, but using slightly differently, like Sonic Unleashed having the fastest of the boost era, Sonic Colors being the slowest, but having more control, and Sonic Generations being in the midway while still having amazing controls. Well, great controls. This is what I meant. Now, what I think Sonic Adventure 2 does right is giving multiple playable characters their own levels. In fact, that's what the first thing I would want to do for multiple playable characters. I would want multiple playable characters to have their own levels, just so they can relate to each other, and those levels specifically towards them and no one else. Sure, they could multiple playable characters can still be in the same area, but it has to be a different portion of the area. Yeah, kind of like what Sonic Adventure 2 tries to do. The next thing I would want to do is to give a variety of characters, kind of like Sonic Adventure 1 having 6. You don't have to have quite as many, but I'd say about 3 characters at the very least, and 5 characters at max. Sure, you can go above it if you want, but it would leave the risk of going too far in terms of the gameplay and making the game a lot longer than it really needs to be. Another thing that I want multiple playable characters to have is smooth control. Now, if you're doing this type of process for a classic styled Sonic game, then I'd suggest keeping the controls just like they were in the classics. But if you're going with a 3D styled Sonic game, take the controls from Sonic Adventure 1. Yes, you can still have the boost mechanic for Sonic, but you also gotta add smooth controls to him just so he doesn't go out of control. If you're gonna be doing a boost titled Sonic game, I'd suggest using the exact same controls from Sonic Generations, aka the controls from Sonic Unleashed, but the minor problems that it had are completely gone. Now, of course, good control doesn't always mean a good Sonic game. Hell, as great as Sonic Heroes was, it had pretty poor control. It wasn't the absolute worst control in the series, but it was still not that great to begin with. And it was even worse in Shadow the Hedgehog. Hell, maybe do it like Sonic 06, where some of the characters can need some help from from one of the amigos. Of course, don't do it for all the stages. Still have some of the characters have their own exclusive stages. And a thing that I personally wouldn't recommend is giving only a certain character in their own campaign. If it's a certain team's campaign, then it's perfectly fine. But if it's a certain character campaign, then I don't know, it just wouldn't feel right with me. Also give some characters exclusive boss battles. Like maybe a certain character can have a different final boss in their team's story. Like a certain team can have a different final boss than each other. Don't do it like Sonic Heroes, where it's the same game all over and over again. Just change the levels a little bit, and just give the characters the same exact goal, and yeah, you'd have a pretty solid, you'd have a very good idea of how to make a good Sonic game. I would also give the levels their own multiple pathways. Because I'm starting to note, because when I played Sonic Forces, if you saw in that video, there wasn't any multiple pathways or any ways to go faster than ever before. Sonic is about replayability, and you can either improve on your score or just play the levels just to have fun and explore new pathways is almost all the time. Take different pathways each time you play it. Also, just don't make the levels too slow paced, please. So in conclusion, I think this is how you do multiple playable characters right in a Sonic game. Of course, this is all my opinion. Anyone can have their own opinions. Just share what you have for what you have for your own characters. It would be really cool, and I think that multiple playable characters can be thought out really well, and especially by fans of Sonic the Hedgehog. Also, thank you FC Playthroughs for the footage. I know I use your footage a lot. Sorry, dude, but I promise I'll give you credit anytime I use your footage. I promise you. And that, folks, is how I would personally do multiple playable characters in Sonic the Hedgehog. And I want to hear your opinions now, like I said. Do you agree with my opinions? What are some things you would change about Sonic the Hedgehog? Or the characters themselves? Please, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear that. Anyways, that's all we have. Thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.